Okay. Yes, hello. Here we have Kim Arnold from UK. You are the founder of UK Tarot Conference, and I guess you're rather busy now because it's in October. It's in London.
Yeah, 19 years. 19 years. If you had told me 20 years ago I would still be doing this, I would have laughed. But it's just I don't know. I think the thing is that tarot has become much more accessible to so many more people. And before the conference, I had a shop and I used to sell tarot cards and crystals, or like a new age shop. And and I have well documented in my Instagram about my journey with the church and the nonsense that went on at that time when I had my shop, and to a point where it got so bad, I thought, that's it, I'm just going to step away from it. I truly nearly had a nervous breakdown. And my husband said to me, well, you do two things. You walk away, or you do something so big that they can't touch you. So I sort of took that idea and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to start a tarot conference when there was nothing like it in the world, or to my knowledge, there wasn't. And and that year, I launched the very first tarot conference, thinking it was going to be just a one-off thing. And after the first one, people started to talk, and then they'd send me emails saying, when is the next one? And I went, well, I'll do another one then. And then the next year, and then the numbers were getting bigger and bigger. And here we are, 19 years later. Now each year we theme it with the card, the Major Arcana card. So this year we honour the sun, which is, I think it's going to be much needed actually, purely because of, what's going on in the world, that we need that joy and the energy that the sun card brings to us.
Uh, 2 years, 219. I was there. I took part in the conference. It was just half a year before the pandemic took over the world. So I remember we were more than 100. I don't know, 100, 150 or something like that.
Yeah, there's about 120 people. Yes.
Yeah, so total sold out, what I could understand.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but during the pandemic, you started to even to do it online as well.
Yeah. And to be honest, that was my biggest nightmare, Rosemary, because I am not technical in any way, shape, or form. I can text on my phone, I can send an email, but other than that, it's like I am the village idiot. And so it was 2 weeks before all the build up to that conference, the first conference with the pandemic. It was the rules kept changing. So one minute you could have an event, but you could only have so many people, and then you couldn't have an event, and then you could, and then you had to wear masks, and there were so many rules and regulations. And then 2 weeks before, people that were waiting, that wanted to come in person, started to drop out because people started to get COVID, or had family members, or didn't want to travel on the train, didn't want to come into central London. And I made that decision to go virtual. And I cannot tell you what a big deal that was for me, because it was absolutely the last thing that I wanted to do. So I brought in this team who basically took over the running of all that side for me. But you see, when you're at a venue and you have a problem, you go and find the manager, or you go and find the supervisor, or you go and talk to someone and you get it fixed. When it's virtual and you're not in control of that, it's very, very, very stressful. But the guy from LNP Sounds, he was amazing. Paul Spicer, he was so good. And he kept saying, stop worrying, Kim, it's fine, this is a piece of cake. And it was fine, and it actually went incredibly well. So now we do virtual and in person. I don't know if I will continue with that going forward, But for now, while there's still that uncertainty of travel for some people and what have you, we'll do it this year. Next year, I'm not sure. But next year, we're 20 years, and 20 years is going to be like a big, big, big event for me. I'm going to make it really, really special.
I can
So,
imagine. I can imagine. But so this year anyway, if people now, I know that it's sold out, but if people want to join, well, they can join online, virtual.
they can join online, yeah, absolutely.
And that's very nice. I've been there. I took part last year virtual, so I can recommend people.
Yeah,
It
thank
will
you.
be, will work.
And I
And
think
maybe
the
we can meet some people here in Sweden together and sit together virtual if we buy our big tickets. So we can make it half virtual, half online.
yes,
Half
thank you.
free,
Yes,
maybe now
yeah.
also. So, but I think what one thing was very interesting about this is that when I was there was a lot of these huge names in tarot was there, and I can see in your group in Facebook also that people can't wait to come and like that, and it's people who've been in tarot for 30, 40 years and like that. So I think that's so amazing how you can connect it about the people who we should not know they know much. But can we ever know everything about tarot? Is it possible?
No, it's really not possible, Rosemary. And a few years ago, I was invited to a place in Italy called, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's called Angari. That's how it's spelt.
Algarve in
Um,
Swedish, yes.
because they found some documents which linked tarot well before the Solar Bushka, well before the Visconti Sforza. And they found these documents where a pack of tarot cards had been given to, let me get this right, to the mayor of Rimini, who was a cousin of Leonardo da Vinci. It was like a really big, long, convoluted story. And they got these books out of the vaults for me to see, which were all in Italian. And my Italian is as good as my Chinese. I don't speak it at all. And this is, we talk about history of tarot, where it began. And even now, there are being documents unearthed before the dates that we associate with tarot. And I think, as tarot starts from a game, Tarocchi moves through time to become a predictive tool. You get these snippets of history and you put them all together, and some make sense and some you leave behind, some you take with you. You see, every time you look at a Rider-Waite deck, if you really study a card and you start to see the tiny images in the background that you never saw before when you've been reading for 20, 30 years, and suddenly there's still new things that you're not seeing. And just on that note, a few years ago, I had the lovely Rachel Pollock came to speak at my conference. She came the year of the Hermit. And she was talking about, I've just got my cards here. She was talking about the Hermit. And she said, of course, the Hermit's only got one leg. And I thought, no, he hasn't. And everybody duly got their tarot card, got their Rider-Waite deck out. I'm going to have to look for it now. And sure enough, he's got one leg. And I thought, well, all the years that I have read tarot, I'd never noticed that only one leg is visible. So what did that mean? And then she went into like a story of the balance and finding balance spiritually and physically and standing still even when you're feeling unsteady, and just steadying yourself spiritually through that card. And she gave a perspective on that card that I had never ever thought about before. And now whenever I see the Hermit card, if I'm reading for a client, that story just sort of wafts through my brain. I think, is this relevant for this client to be told this information, or just need to reflect? And I think that there is so much information in those 78 cards that we will never ever know it all. Never.
So now when we talk about a little bit about decks and like that, do you have any favorite decks, or is it changed?
Well, at the moment, I've got two decks at the moment, and one is the Celtic Tarot
Oh yeah,
by Christopher Hughes. It's such a lovely deck. The images are just so clear and beautiful. Let me just get some cards out for you. They're borderless cards, and they are just such lovely, beautiful cards. And Christopher, of course, spoke at my conference last year, and when you get to know the man behind the cards, it just puts another layer to it. They are really lovely and easy to read. And the other deck that I'm really taken with at the moment is the Transient Light Tarot, which is by Ari Wisner. Ari's going to be coming to my conference, just to pop in. This is the first deck of tarot cards where there has been no plastic used in the deck. They're completely free of plastic and anything that's harmful to the environment. Now, these decks are produced by Hay House, and they're very simple cards, but
Very beautiful.
do you know what? I absolutely love them. And I did speak with Ari, and he said that he created these cards through the pandemic. It was just something that he wanted to do and didn't know that he was going to do this. But I absolutely recommend this deck by Ari Wisner of Hay House. So I've just reviewed these, and I'm very lucky reviewing decks because I get to keep decks or see decks before they hit the shelves. But I can highlight, they're very different decks, the Celtic Tarot and the Transient Light Tarot, that's what they're called. Cannot recommend them highly enough. They're beautiful, beautiful cards. So they're my two favourite decks at the moment. But I do, I work with the Rider-Waite. I love the tradition of the Rider-Waite. I find them very easy to read, to flow with them, and I just feel like a client can look at the cards, even if they don't know what a tarot card means. If you lay the Rider-Waite for a client, it's very visual, how it speaks to them. And but I have a huge collection of cards. I mean, I must have about 300 decks in my house, all in boxes or in cupboards. You open cupboards in my house and like 1,000 decks fall out. And so one day I will sit and I would document them all and just put them all in a spreadsheet and know what I've got. That one day I will do that.
So what do you use tarot most for? I mean, do you do this for looking in the future, or looking in yourself, or what's your main?
Well, I rarely read for myself, and when I need to read for myself, if I don't like what I see, I just put the cards back or lay them again until I see what I like. So that doesn't really count. But for a client, I think I read for the now. I think it's not, sometimes there's a little bit of the past. So when you look at that card in the first position, I always say to the client as a reader, when I look at that first card, what came before? You know, what was that relating to? So when I read for a client, I would concentrate on the first card, because the fact that someone's come for a reading and they're paying money for that reading, it means that, you know, people don't come for a reading when everything is wonderful. They come when they have a question or when they have a crisis. So from that first card, I will try and build up what I feel is the crux of the problem. And then basically the rest of the cards will then tell me the story of where they are emotionally, physically, mentally, what the issues might be surrounding this, and guide them to a positive outcome. So I would never, ever, ever leave a client hanging in the balance with a question. Like, we will always, and even if the answer comes that there is still quite a difficult path to go, that they just have to keep focused. So I don't necessarily predict, I guide, because I think that we have to be very careful as tarot readers not to take away free will, you know, because, you know, as often if people want, for example, want to change their career, and they say, oh, well, what should I do? And I said, well, if I sat here and said, well, I think you should be a nurse, and that wasn't right for you, then I've taken away your free will, but you have to make your own choices. So, for example, if someone said they were going to change your career and there was lots of cup cards come up on that, I might say something like, I think you would be very good with working with people or in a caring community of some sort, whatever that means. So I would guide the client to, to what I feel would help them. Or if they were creative, I would encourage them to find where that creativity hones in on their life. What should they be doing with that creativity, and how they can bring that out. So I don't really do predictive readings, but there's always an ending. There's always a beginning, a middle, and an end. So throwing them the choice back. Do you know the strangest reading I ever had was with a very, very well-known tarot reader and author. And she did me a reading, and she laid the cards and then told me to read them myself. And I thought, okay, well, that's a bit different. So, and she just shuffled all these cards on the table, and she said, well, it's your reading, you read the cards. And I was thinking, well, what are you here for? I'm asking you to read the cards, because your interpretation as someone that doesn't really know me is going to be different to what I'm seeing, because I tend to see what I want to see, not what I need to see. So we all have very different ways of reading, but I always like to say that I will help guide you, but I won't necessarily give you the answer that you're looking for.
Mm. And we have also a tarot conference in Stockholm.
Mm-hmm.
I was so inspired of your thing, so I think that we need people in Sweden who make tarot need to meet and learn from each other, and we have to meet. And so we planned, and you were coming. We planned, and you were going to come, but then the pandemic came, and then the pandemic continued in 2 years. But now we really do hope that it will be in May 2023.
Well, I'm hoping it's third time lucky, Rosemary. So you've been very unlucky with the pandemic and travel and all that.
So the plan says that you are coming and you will speak, and the theme is the High Priestess, the number 2 in the majors. So what can you just shortly say about the High Priestess?
Well, the High Priestess, I always think she is very much about your intuition. She has a greater meaning than that. Don't get me wrong, but for me, when the High Priestess comes up, it's almost like you already know what the answer is. Just trust your gut. And I haven't really, because obviously it's not for a while yet. I'm working on my conference, and I'll work on coming to your conference. But mine will very much be about, I'm thinking I'm going to weave into the tarot clairaudience, clairsentience, and clairvoyance, and just bring that into the High Priestess, and how she just sits so very serenely, just all-knowing. And she holds secrets, the High Priestess. She holds she holds secrets, so we have to just be mindful of that, what we want to share with the world and what we need to keep close to us. So, but I will be working on that towards the end of the year, ready for Stockholm next year.
It will be great. I can't wait. But first of all, now I'm looking forward to the October and the UK Tarot Conference. Can you, just before we finish, we go back to what we started with the UK Tarot Conference, and you tell me a little short about what we can look forward to.
Okay, well, I have my program here. So this year when I say we honor the card of the year, it doesn't mean to say that every workshop is going to be based around that card. It just means that the sun is influential in the workshops, but it's not all being. So we have the lovely Juliet Sharman Burke, Liz Dean, Callie French coming in from the States, Nigel Jackson, who did the Rose Tarot, plus so many other decks. Sophie McCain Knight, she did the Painted Tarot and the Painted Runes. She's lovely. David Rankin, he's an expert in the Tree of Life. And Rashanda Tramble, she's an American living in Switzerland. She's a very dear friend of mine. And she's going to be talking about falling back in love with your tarot cards. So when you get those moments where, we have a wobble, she's going to be talking about that. She's also a practicing Buddhist, so she will be bringing in some of the practice into the workshop. So what we have at the UK Tarot Conference is that we have a diversity of speakers. Like, some sessions are much more interactive and fun. I always say to my speakers, there must be an interactive element, because I have the attention span of an ant. It's like I cannot sit there listening to someone talking to me, like I just want to hang myself. But so now every speaker has to have an interactive element, whether it's with the cards or through meditation or whatever. So that's built into the program. And one thing I will say is that whatever level you're at with tarot, if you're an absolute expert, I promise that you will still learn more, because every one of these speakers has a different perspective on tarot. They look at it differently. And the things that I've picked up over the years as someone that is knowledgeable about tarot, I come away with just so much stuff that I didn't know, or different techniques of reading tarot that I would never have thought of myself. And so we often touch on astrology and numerology. You don't have to be an expert in these things. This is what the teachers and the speakers are for, to guide us and to steer us, to look at our cards in fresh ways, through fresh eyes. And also, for those of people joining online, you can ask questions which will be put to the teachers or the speakers. And it's just always such a great couple of days, always.
I can't wait. So I thank you very, very much for this. I could talk with you for hours, but it wouldn't people. So see you very soon there.
Thank you, Rosemary.